Hey everyone, what's up? We still have one more minute to start, but I thought I'd just start a little early. Let's zoom in on my face here. So, no one's live right now. So, yeah, let me just tell you a little bit about my day. I went to a law camp today, and I did a little presentation on environmental law. That was really exciting. Yeah, I've been there for a week. I just got back this morning, and I'm still here presenting for you guys, so you guys should feel very blessed. Yeah. Welcome to Camp Fivable. It is cool. It is 5 o'clock Western time, and today our very special topic is gonna be animals. Now, this is something I'm super duper passionate about because I actually don't know why I'm passionate about this, but I've just come to love animals a lot. I don't have any pets or anything, but all animals are my spirit animals. Yeah, if you're watching, please tell me what your spirit animal is. If I had to pick one, I think I would say koala. Apparently, I just exuded koala energy, according to my friends. So let me know what is your spirit animal in the chat. Cool. So make sure to follow Fivable on social media. It's at thinkfivable.com, I guess, or just thinkfivable. Yeah. About me. So my name is Sumi. I'm a rising junior this year. I live in Colorado. I love it here. It's beautiful. Super passionate about the environment. I used to take all the nature and everything for granted, but there's been a lot of urban development here, and I really miss seeing the mountains outside my house. So yeah, I'm super passionate. I have my own nonprofit. So if you're in Colorado, make sure to check that out. Check out my Instagram. Definitely contact me for volunteer opportunities. I love to play the piano. So that's really fun. Oh, Megan's spirit animal is an otter. That's super cool. Otters are really cute. And in an hour or so at 6 p.m., I am doing calculus live stream. So if you want to stick around for that, that would be awesome. If you're interested and if you're taking a calculus course next year, it could be really helpful for you. Awesome. My upcoming streams, today's animals, and then I'm skipping a week, so I won't be there next week. But after that, I'm going to be presenting about agriculture, and then land and water, and finally environmental ethics. If you guys want me to keep going, I'm happy to do that. I could talk about the environment all day, but that should conclude the series unless, yeah, there's a big interest in it. So let me know what you guys think. Yeah. So I think biodiversity is something that we've talked about a lot in our world, and I know some of you might be wondering what it means. So biodiversity is how diverse an ecosystem is. So if we have, say, a forest and there's only one type of animal in that forest, it's not very biodiverse. But if we have many, many different species in an ecosystem, then it would be considered more biodiverse. And this goes for species, so plants and animals, and you can also have biodiversity within a species. So yeah, that would include something like, genetic diversity or different types of a species, different subsets. Yeah. And one thing that I want you all to know is that all species and ecosystems are interconnected and we all rely on each other to survive. So what that means is if one species goes extinct, or if there's less or more of one species, it's going to throw off the whole ecosystem. So unfortunately, right now, our biodiversity is decreasing. That means that more species are going extinct, or there are fewer of some species, or the genetic diversity is decreasing. And that presents problems not only for animals, but for humans as well, because the ecosystems give us something very important called ecosystem services. And that's everything that the planet provides for us. So, for example, plants give us fresh air to breathe, bees pollinate plants, we can, swim in the ocean, or we can hike up mountains. Those are all ecosystem services that our planet provides. And we get ecosystem services from animals as well. I mentioned bees, earthworms, make sure our soil is nutrient dense. Large carnivores, we don't think about large carnivores much, but large carnivores are actually extremely important to our ecosystems, and unfortunately they're dying out because they control the populations of all the smaller species. And then vultures or other detrivores who eat up all the dead animals, those are very important. We don't want to have like earth full of dead rats and everything. That would be kind of gross. So yeah. And then more biodiversity makes ecosystems healthier and helps them recover from disasters. So especially this applies to genetic diversity. If we have animals with genes that are more different, if there's a disease, then some will survive and be able to recover the population. However, if we're causing problems as humans, or we're even engaging in artificial selection, especially with farm animals, if there's a disease, the genes are all going to be very similar, and it's likely that all of them will die off. So that's really important as well. All right. So endangered species. We've been talking a lot about diversity and biodiversity. So our biodiversity is decreasing a lot, and we're facing the 6th mass extinction. So we've had 5 so far, and we're in our 6th. We're in the deep midst of our 6th. And that means that a super lot amount of species are going extinct. And that number is 30 to 50% of species by 2020. And in the past, mass extinctions have been because of ice ages or some other natural cause. Think about the extinction of dinosaurs. That was the first mass extinction. But this time, scientists are all in agreement that this one is attributed to humans. So that's because of habitat destruction and pollution. And the type of habitat destruction that we're seeing a lot is deforestation, desertification, climate change, soil erosion, etc., etc. All right. So right now there are 41,415 species on the IUCN, which is the International United something. It's an international organization associated with the United Nations Red List, which is the same thing as the Endangered Species List. In the United States, we have the Endangered Species Act, which means that you cannot continue with a project if it poses a threat to endangered species. So that's a law. So if you're an environmental lawyer, you will be trying to make sure that that law is followed. However, the law is very ambiguous in this case. That means that, we can't really prove that one project will or will not endanger another species because, again, like I said, all species are interconnected in some way. So that means that large corporations with a lot of money and a lot of influence in our government aren't actually following the Endangered Species Act because they're allowed to influence or they're allowed to pay for lawyers who are able to defend their projects even if they're clearly going to violate the Endangered Species Act. And this means that we're causing even more problems in the United States. And science estimate that extinction rates are 1,000 to 10,000 times the natural extinction rate. And the natural extinction rate is about 0.01%. So 1,000 to 10,000 times, that's like 1% to 10% higher. Okay, cool. So, let's talk about deforestation first. That's mostly caused by expansion of agricultural land or intense harvesting of timber, wood for fuel, and other forest products, as well as overgrazing. So that means that our population is growing, we need more food to support our population, and we also need wood and other resources from the forest. Overgrazing will kind of make the soil go out, it'll deplete all the nutrients in it. That's called soil erosion. And that's why our forests are going away. And then coastal habitat loss, that can be caused a lot by recreation and tourism and litter. If there are a lot of people on beaches, then animals are likely to go to the coast or the shores. Think about sea turtles, for example. So that, in a way, destroys their habitat. So you can see some pictures. This one of the orangutan is really famous. And you can see that's a bulldozer that's destroying this habitat. And then they think that's for palm oil. So palm oil is a big problem. I'm sure you've heard of it, but we get it from the palm trees. So we need to cut down the trees in order to get the palm oil. And to go along with that, we are experiencing water pollution and ocean acidification. So that means that habitats that aquatic animals could once live in are no longer habitable, either because it's too acidic or too warm or too dirty for the animals to live in, and this causes dead zones, especially from pesticides. If we increase the nitrogen, then we're gonna be causing dead zones. And then I'm sure you've heard of this, the ice caps are melting. You can see the picture of the polar bear here, that's pretty famous. But it's true, the ice caps are melting. In the news, there was this one polar bear who was wandering around in Russia just searching for food. So we can see polar bears who are gonna go extinct pretty soon if we don't save their habitat. All right, so a little bit more about extinction, and well, a lot of extinct animals are caused by habitat destruction. They can either be accelerated or driven extinct through trophy hunting. So, hunting can take on several forms, but trophy hunting is just kind of hunting for fun because you want to somehow. You enjoy killing animals for fun. And in many countries, governments will give licenses to trophy hunters. So this can actually include endangered animals. So governments can give licenses for hunters to kill elephants or other endangered animals. And they're often sought out for certain body parts. So think ivory, rhinoceros horns, whale teeth, shark teeth, that type of thing. And in the United States, we had a ban on elephant trophies, but now it's no longer there. So tourists who are touring areas, they can buy something made out of ivory, and it won't be they won't be convicted if they live in the United States or if they bring it back to the United States. And this is really dangerous and terrible because we're creating a whole new market of tourists who are going to buy these products, and that creates a higher demand for elephant ivory. So you can see in the first picture below that elephants are being hunted at a super high rate. If you think about this, this could be maybe a week, couple weeks worth of hunting, and you look at how many tusks are in that. That's a lot of elephant tusks. And then something that organizations have been doing to combat this is actually dyeing elephant tusks pink. They use a special kind of dye for that, and this prevents them from being hunted because hunters are not out for pink tusks. They're out for that beautiful white tusk. So this prevents the elephants from being hunted, and it's a good conservation movement. However, it shouldn't be necessary. I already touched a little bit on one current event, but another one, I just want to mention that in 2018, the Spix macaw, among a couple other birds, went extinct for good. There are actually 60 of these in captivity, but in the wild, they're completely gone. We can't find even one of them. And if you recognize these animals, these are the birds who are in the movie Rio. So that's really sad that in just a few years they went extinct. I'm going to touch on veganism a little bit here. I am a vegan, but if you don't believe in veganism, that's up to you. I will go more in depth in it in the next session because I'm going to be talking about agriculture. However, I just wanted to talk about it a little bit. Veganism, the definition is a philosophy and way of living which seeks to exclude, as far as possible and practicable, all forms of exploitation of and cruelty to animals for food, clothing, or any other purpose, and by extension promotes the development and use of animal-free alternatives for the benefit of animals, humans, and the environment. So that's a lot to unpack. Essentially, we try not to exploit animals and not support that because if many people aren't buying the products, the market will go down. So that's, I guess, the main goal. kind of a boycott. But yeah, I think veganism has helped me a lot in my life. Yeah, I just wanted to talk about that a little bit. And again, I'll touch on it more and the benefits of it in my next series. Cool. And finally, we have reached the end. I'm going to talk a little bit about animal rights. And something that I really want you guys to get out of this lecture, if you get anything at all, is that all animals have intrinsic value. And they don't exist just to serve humans. So that means that if there's a bunny or a squirrel or a spider, it doesn't exist for us, for our purposes. It just exists because it exists, and there's no reason for it. It just exists for itself, and it deserves that existence as much as any one of us. And you may be thinking, how can I help endangered animals? And the most important way is to do your part to act sustainably. So if you're using a lot of fossil fuels or water or pesticides or chemicals or any of that, that's going to be the main thing that's indirectly causing animal endangerment. And then if you hunt, I would strongly encourage you to stop, just because that is really detrimental to animals. And again, you're killing animals with no purpose. So that is not good for them. And then today, I have a few challenges for you. I know a lot of you are under the age of 18, and I found this amazing app called the PETA Points App. Even if you're not involved with PETA, I'm personally not. I don't do anything with them, but they just give you cool points and free things for doing your part to save animals. And the next thing is to just check your pantry and read the ingredients and see what kind of things you have in your pantry and fridge that have palm oil. And just be mindful of that. You don't have to get rid of it, you don't have to stop consuming it, but just be mindful of how many things you're taking into your home that contain palm oil, because that's a huge market. It's in almost everything. However, it is one of the most harmful substances in the world for the environment. Alrighty, that concludes our environmental lecture. I hope you enjoyed. I hope that this gave you a little bit of insight on animals and animal endangerment. I know you've heard about it a lot, however, I just wanted to touch on it because animals are an important part of the environment. If you're watching this on replay and you have any questions, feel free to contact me. And yeah, be sure to come to my next lecture. Again, I'm not going to be there next week, but on July 13th, I'll be streaming again at this time. All right, see you then.